We've been discussing willpower, specifically diseases of the will, from a book in 1903 by T.H. Ribot. Why did I go to such a book? Well, number one, the professionals and scholars of that time, of that era, were leaps and bounds of even what we've got today. Let me give you put it into perspective. 125 years since this book was written, and even William James' Principles of Psychology was written. 125 years. We've made very little progress in terms of conceptual workings of the will. Neuroscience has progressed. We understand how things work in the brain physically. But as you can see from modern literature, the only thing that anyone has given us in the last 20 years is just to say that if you consume sugar or carbohydrate, that you're going to have more brain fuel and you'll be able to exert more self-control, plus a stronger willpower. It's ridiculous. Common sense, we expect so much more from the scientific community. So we've had to go back to 125 years ago, where we had really great thinkers. Today's talk is going to be specifically about attention, the attention component of willpower. You know attention is so important. You can't say enough about it. The importance of attention and lack of attention, a deficit of attention can cost you dearly in life. So I thought I would distill some of the lessons learned from his book. I've spent days reading through it in detail, so you don't have to. Importance of attention. Let's just get started. So Ribot explores how the impairments of will, particularly voluntary attention, affect our mental life. And attention is not just a cognitive function. It's tied to emotion, to willpower, and to action. Now, he identified two types of impairments of voluntary attention. Voluntary is the attention you control, right? As opposed to like if you get excited or stimulated from something external and you just give it your attention without thinking about it. So voluntary attention, attention you control. So there's two main forms of impairments, problems, difficulties. The first, excessive intellectual activity. From what I see on social media and YouTube today, I think that we don't have to worry about that problem, excessive intellectual activity. In any case, too many thoughts and feelings crowd the mind, making focused attention impossible. This is like an overproduction of mental states, which prevents true attention. The second form of impairment to voluntary attention is diminished directive power. It's a gradual loss of the ability to direct one's mind, resulting in a difficulty or impossibility of sustained intellectual effort. There is a condition it's closely related to, it's called abulia, or a lack of will. Today they have different categories and names, but it's still valid. So the key propositions from Ribot's writings there's a number of them, four. The four that I've identified. One, voluntary attention, the kind we consciously force. It's artificial, it's unstable, and it's weak compared to spontaneous attention. Spontaneous attention, something exciting you see outside, you can't help give it your attention. The voluntary attention is something that takes your effort. You have to expend effort to give your attention to something. You're reading something, you're watching something good for you, etc. Number two, spontaneous attention. We just mentioned that is natural, effective, and arises from strong emotional states. So pleasure, curiosity, love, hatred, etc. It's the emotional charge that sustains attention. Very interesting point to keep in mind, emotional charge that sustains attention. You can apply that to voluntary attention, right? Something you need to or want to pay attention to, but you're having a hard time, you need to charge it emotionally. 3, the origin and maintenance of attention are always linked to affective states. We just said that. Emotional states, making attention similar to a reflex action. He talks a lot about reflexes, and he said that back then, the thinking of the day was that reflexes, that all mental activity is a reflex of external stimuli. Today, we know that's not true. I went and I tried to check his content from 125 years ago for validity to see if it still compares, how it compares to what we know today, advancements, progress, and so on. It's mostly still valid. This is remarkable, except for one thing, is that we know today that there are higher order brain functions. There's neural activity that is not, it's independent of immediate external stimuli. Higher order brain functions like planning, decision making, imagination, self-initiated action. Okay? Aside from that, everything else he talked about is valid today. It's just remarkable. Remarkable. They didn't have anything that we have today. And yet our scientific community is almost where they were 125 years ago with respect to willpower today, except they tell you to have sugar or carbohydrates so you'll have greater degree of self-control. And they're making millions of dollars on New York Times best-selling books telling you just that and nothing else. This is shocking and disappointing. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. The 4th point, the key proposition from Ribot's writings in Diseases of the Will. Inhibitive acts, the ability to suppress distractions, play a crucial but not fully understood role in attention. The ability to suppress distractions, inhibitive acts. What this means is, in other words, you're trying to sustain attention, voluntary attention. It requires effort and energy to do so. So many distractions, not just external, I mean, mainly, you could say mainly internal distractions. There's, he talks about how associations, I don't know if you've heard, you know much about this, but associations is a major way of how we think. By association, you go from one thought to the next, a train of thought. It's primarily by association. And so when you're applying effort to keep your voluntary attention on something important to you, your mind is going into a number of different associations, and you have to inhibit that. You have to apply effort to stop it from doing that and bring your attention back. Inhibitive acts. So moving on to how attention works, just briefly. So we've identified spontaneous attention and voluntary attention. Spontaneous attention is driven by emotion. When something excites us emotionally, our attention is captured and sustained effortlessly. So for example, a child watching a favorite show or movie, or a mathematician absorbed in a challenging problem. Spontaneous attention. The voluntary attention requires effort, and it's hard to maintain. So it often involves artificially generating feelings to stay focused. So pretending interest in a dull conversation. You have to generate feelings. And the better you are at that, the more you're able to sustain this attention. Sometimes we don't want to. You're in a discussion with someone and you don't want to be there. Or on the phone and you don't want to be doing that. But you have to use your feelings to keep you plugged in. Now let's use that in an instance where you really want to pay attention. So you're studying something, you're watching a very useful video, but there's a another video with the cat jumping on a hot tin roof. So you have to use your feelings and emotions to do that. So think of how you'd feel if you were to become more knowledgeable in something, incorporate that into your capabilities, you'd be better off, achieve goals and things like this, right? So the mechanisms of attention, from how attention works to the mechanism of attention. So he says that the brain is a motor organ, and every state of consciousness contains elements that tend toward action. Every state of consciousness contains elements that tend toward action. We were just mentioning a minute ago that not all action is external. Some of it is internal, for example, associated thoughts or imagery. This is internal mental cognitive actions, right? So every state of consciousness, he says, contains elements that tend toward action. Intense states of consciousness either express themselves outwardly, action, or inwardly, associating with other thoughts. Intense states of consciousness, and that's how they express themselves, okay? Now, in spontaneous attention, the associations naturally reinforce the focus. This is really interesting. Spontaneous attention, you see an accident, or you see someone dancing on the street, or whatever. Your attention is drawn. The associations that you have in your mind internally, they naturally reinforce the focus. So you think of, let's say you see people dancing on the street, whatever. So the things that your mind gives you, the associations, other thoughts and feelings, or whatever it is, they reinforce that focus because you're excited. There's excitement in you, the energy, the emotion sustains that spontaneous attention. So the associations are close to it. They're going to reinforce it. So you think, oh, has this ever happened before? When has this happened before? What does this mean? Who should I call? What should I do? It's reinforcing. Whereas if it's the voluntary attention, it's something that's not so emotionally charged. The associations you have, the thoughts or imagery or ideas, they're not going to reinforce what you're paying attention to. That's the problem. Herein lies the problem. So that's you have to apply your effort and energy to bring your attention back, your focus back to that. The voluntary attention, we must actively suppress irrelevant associations. That's where mental effort comes from. If you're watching this right now, maybe you really care about yourself, how your mind works, your life, your future, and your success. Gosh, I mean, I just can't help but to think about this. There's a billion other videos right now that are just, I don't know, not very useful, super entertaining, but totally useless. So if you're here watching this right now, I really applaud you, and I appreciate your efforts to better yourself. So what are the lessons and practical takeaways? First, spontaneous attention is efficient. It gives you maximum results with minimum effort. Whereas voluntary attention is inefficient. It's minimum results with maximum effort. Helps to think about those two, okay? You can identify each one so you can start to help your voluntary attention. And the key to improving attention is, number one, cultivate emotional interest in the task, making it engaging. Cultivate emotional interest. So your thoughts and feelings should be geared towards what you're getting out of it. What is the eventual outcome? What is it linked to that benefits you? Second, practice suppressing irrelevant thoughts. These are inhibitive acts. You want to inhibit irrelevant thoughts. Practice doing that. Keep your attention coming back. It's like meditating. When you meditate, you're constantly getting irrelevant thoughts and you don't want them. You just let them go by and you gently bring the attention back to whatever it is, the breath, just some point. Sometimes they meditate by thinking of the point on their nose or something like this. Same idea. And third, recognize that willpower relies on harnessing and stabilizing emotional drives. Harnessing and stabilizing emotional drives. Willpower relies on that. Let's see, Ivana, I just identified 2 quotes here from him. One of them is so long and this is just almost convoluted, but well, I'll just, it is very important. He says, take away the emotion, all disappears. So long as it lasts, attention lasts. Everything takes place here in the manner of those reflexes which appear continuous, because excitation, unceasingly repeated and always the same, maintains them up to the moment. Okay, so take away the emotion, all disappears. So long as emotion lasts, attention lasts. This is a key takeaway from this video. Emotion is crucial for attention. Okay, so let's see here. So attention is fundamentally emotional and reflexive. And to master your attention and willpower, focus on cultivating genuine interest, learning to inhibit distractions, and rather than relying solely on the brute force of your willpower. Okay? I hope that you found this video useful, and I ask you to like and subscribe and leave comments. I read all the comments, and if you know someone that can benefit from this, please do share it with them. And I wish you creative thought and effortful action. Thanks for listening. Watch out for the next day.